How's it going? Cody back again, dropping out another video. Right, as you can see from the title of this video, this is a story about Leeds Prison, and also there's a mention for Wealdstone Prison, which is a cat C near Wetherby. Right, before I go into that, guys, earlier today I was contacted by a news editor for a big national news channel about possibly doing an interview tomorrow on Skype, reference £10 million for the 10 worst performing prisons in England and Wales. I'm not really bothered about doing the interview. I've not actually got back to the guy. If it comes off, it comes off, and if it doesn't, it doesn't. I'm not really bothered. I prefer these vlogs because when you do these interviews, guys, they expect people to be polished and very articulate. I've got the attention span of a goldfish, and I'm a thick, uneducated street kid, and I speak as such, you know what I mean? So if it comes off, it comes off, and I'll upload it, I'll record it, and I'll upload it. If not, I'm not really bothered. I don't get paid from anyway. Anyway, back to this story. The headline reads, growing chaos at Leeds Prison as numbers of barricades and roof protests reach record levels. As always, guys, put the link in the description so you can browse your own leisure should you choose to. Record numbers of incidents showing more prisoners refusing to comply at overcrowded Armley Jail. Armley Jail, HMP Leeds, same thing. The number of protests by inmates at Leeds Prison has reached a record level, indicating growing chaos at the overcrowded jail. Disgruntled prisoners barricaded themselves and climbed onto forbidden parts of Armley Jail more than twice as often last year as they did the year before. According to figures from the Ministry of Justice, prisoners constructed barricades to stop prison officers or other inmates accessing parts of the prison on 47 occasions in 2017 to 2018. That was more than double the 21 similar incidents that occurred the previous year. Incidents at height where prisoners climbed onto the netting or over bars or onto the roof were at record levels, with 130 recorded in 2017 and 2018 compared to 64 recorded in 2016 to 2017. This was an 11-fold increase on the figures in 2012 to 2013, just 12 incidents when the current method of recording was introduced. There were also 4 incidents where prisoners took hostages in 2017 and 2018, although this number is consistent with recent years. There was also 6 incidents, easy for me to say, of concerted indiscipline where 2 or more prisoners act together in defiance of a lawful instruction or against the requirements of the regime of the establishment. This can be active or passive, i.e. involving aggression, violence, or neither, and those involved do not necessarily need to be acting in a common cause. This was the same as in 2016 and 2017, however this is still an increase from the previous years where numbers were usually less than 5. Meanwhile, at nearby Wealdstone Prison near Wetherby, protesting inmates were also climbing onto forbidden parts of the jail with increased frequency. The Cat C jail, a prison for less dangerous offenders, recorded 38 incidents at height, up by 52% in a year from 25 in 2016 to 2017. There were also 6 incidents of concerted indiscipline, up from 3 in 2016 to 2017, and 4 in 2015 2016. In prisons across England and Wales, there were 4,847 incidents at height, compared to 3,825 in the previous year, a 27% rise in a year. While incidents of illegal behaviour are dealt with through the courts, other rule breaking can be dealt with in prisons using additional imprisonment, get extra days and stuff, CC, cell confinement, etc, etc. The Howard League for Penal Reform said inmates at HMP Leeds received a total of 4,307 extra days inside as a punishment for rule breaking. The League is calling for the practice to be scrapped. Francis Crook, Chief Executive of the Howard League for Penal Reform, said, "The explosion in use of additional days of imprisonment has been catastrophic for the prison system. Rather than solving problems, it has created new ones, piling more pressure on the prison population and worsening overcrowding, which then in turn leads to more drug use and violence. The figures illustrate the urgent need for reform. We need to see a culture change in jails from top to bottom. A prison that resorts again and again to further punishment is an unhealthy prison. Scrapping the imposition of additional days would make prisons safer, fairer, and less likely to churn out people who go on to reoffend in the community. It has worked in Scotland, and with the right approach, it could work here too." Leeds Live has contacted the Ministry of Justice for comment, but it as yet is yet to receive a response. Now, tells you, obviously, guys, right? obviously there's more prisons are overcrowded, as we know. There's more prisoners with mental health problems. For me, in my opinion, as a former prisoner, prison starts mental health problems if they haven't already got mental health problems. And the scary thing is, a lot of people don't even see it. Do you know what I mean? Like, it happens. People on the outside, your friends and your family, they see a change in you, but you personally don't see the change. Like I say, getting on the bars and stuff and getting on the netting. The netting, for those that don't know, it's metal netting that you'll because you'll have one side of the landing, the other side of the landing, and then you've got like a big gap. And obviously they put the net in there as a safety measure, but people jump over it and run across it in socks and trainers and refuse to bang up, or they jump on the bars and then threaten to jump off because there's not netting in every landing. Do you know what I mean? So some people threaten to jump off, and like I say, get onto the roof if they're able to get onto the roof with keys, or you know what I mean, or climb up and then end up on the roof. And the idea is you get on the roof and you scream from the rooftops, with the intention of highlighting prisoners' plight, what's going on within the prison. It's embarrassing for the prison, etc., etc. Obviously, another reason for the rise as well, in my opinion, is the smoking ban, which the Ministry of Justice have obviously implemented. I think 100% of prisons are now non-smoking, according to the Justice Secretary David Gork, who spoke at the RTA a few months ago. The Prison Officers Association actually lobbied for the smoking ban, knowing, in my opinion, that there'd be an increase in violence and disorder. They've then used that violence and disorder to threaten banned industrial action if they don't get Parva spray, which is currently being trialled in 4 prisons, police extendable batons, which are now in prisons. Do you know what I mean? And I did an interview with the national chair of the POA, Mark Fairhurst, a Scouser that works at Walton Jail. Horrible guy. Right, and he wants tactical use of taser for prison officers, so that they can taser a prisoner if they give him an order and he doesn't comply. Say it's a mentally ill prisoner, right, and he's not incapable in his own actions, or he's having a psychotic episode and he can't do what they tell him to do because he's having a psychotic episode. They can taser him and drag him down a seg. The interview's down my timeline, guys, if you want to check that out. But like I say, so prisoners are more and more angry in something. Like, if prisoners wanted to, they could take over the jails in a heartbeat, literally. There are more prisoners than there are prison officers, massively. But like I say, prisoners are dehumanised, desensitised, demoralised, and even more disenfranchised than when they entered the system. Good order is kept. I've no idea how. Some prisoners just want to get their head into the jail, and it's not worth picking up extra days or getting a nicking. If you're in a position of trust, i.e. you're a cleaner or you've got an orderly job or something within the jail, you don't want to get a nicking because you'll lose your job and get sent down. Do you know what I mean? You could end up on a basic wing if you get put on basic or whatever. Do you know what I mean? You don't want to lose your job because you've got it cushy in the jail. But like I say, prisoners have had enough. And for me, guys, right, the prison system, right, as it is, it's bubbling away and it's bubbling away and it's a powder keg. And it's not if it's going to go off, it's simply when. But like I say, what will happen is, I sadly believe, and personally, I hope it doesn't come to this, but I believe it'll take us a riot similar to the Strangeways riot here in Manchester back in 1990 for change and overall, for the prison system to be overhauled and for reform and for the prison system to be changed. Because as it stands now, there's a lot of talk from the MOJ about we're going to do this, we're going to do that, right? But talk is exactly that, guys. It is cheap. And like I say, prisoners are under the cosh and shit rolls downhill. And unfortunately for prisoners, we're at the bottom of the hill. And like I say, with the smoking ban, for me, the smoking ban is the straw that broke the camel's back. And you're seeing record numbers of assaults, record numbers of self-harm, do you know what I mean, year on year. And like I say, now prisoners are barricading themselves, they're jumping on the bars, they're jumping on the netting, they're getting up onto the roof. And they're just ignoring orders to bang up. They're refusing to lock up and they're kicking off. And like I say, many different factors as to why that's going on. But at the end of the day, prisoners are not treated right in prison. Prisoners need to be treated humanely. For those that want to brutalise prisoners and think that that's conducive to rehabilitating that individual, you're absolutely clueless. And all these do-gooders on the right side of the tracks that want to brutalise prisoners, they then shouldn't complain because prison doesn't work. It churns you out more disenfranchised than when you entered. And you go back to crime, and then these people that want to brutalise prisoners, if they then become victims of crime, they then shouldn't complain because they want to brutalise prisoners. Prisons need to be a place of productivity. Prisoners need to be treated humanely so they feel like they've got a stake in society. They can be shown there is another way to do it. And like I say, I live in this world where I believe that all prisoners should get skills training, education, productive regimes, you know what I mean? Family ties should be encouraged rather than being shipped hundreds of miles away. Every prisoner in every prison should have a phone in his cell. Not a mobile phone, guys. There are a lot of prisoners with them, but phones within the cell so you can ring your loved ones. But prisoners should also be able to receive incoming calls as an incentive for good behaviour. I genuinely do believe that. That would see a decrease, hopefully, in violent incidents within prisons, positive drug tests, etc., etc. And then in return for your good behaviour, 4 or 5 numbers that are on your PIN. It'll generate an extension number and your loved ones can ring you. Why? Because it's cheaper. And rather than spending your money on the fucking phone, the prison phone, which is so damn expensive, you can then spend the money on yourself, on your canteen, and on your toiletries and things that you need within the prison. Food and things like that. In prison, guys, it's the little things that are big things, you know what I mean? But like I say, guys, if it carries on like this, it's going to explode and then you get copycat incidents and stuff. It's happening at Leeds Prison, it's happening at Wilston Prison, it's happening at prisons up and down the country. Most recently, you just got to look at the vlog I did about Loudon Grange Prison, about prison officers attacking prisoners. People are starting to stand up and take note about what's going on. And one day, prisoners are going to get together, they're going to rise up, and they're going to fight back. And like I say, the more the Prison Officers Association want to arm themselves and think that that's going to reduce violent incidents within prison, prisoners will get a kick in, they've got long memories, they'll then go after the prison officer, isolate him, try and get his keys, do him in, pot him. For those that don't know, pot him is either piss or shit, or piss and shit together, urine, sugar hot water, napalm. I mean, the usual stuff that prisoners use, guys. Like I say, violence will be met by violence, guys. And like I say, it's just a very, very violent cauldron. We're both angry at the system. The prison officers are angry because they don't have the staff and the numbers that they want, and I think they feel underappreciated. Prisoners are obviously pissed off because they understaffing, which means they'll spend longer locked behind the doors. And it just goes on that way, guys. There's some very good prison officers in the prison system. There's also a lot of dickheads that like to antagonise prisoners, like to bully prisoners, and like to twist prisoners up. In the same regard, there's a lot of prisoners that are decent, and also you've got a lot of dickheads in jail that they just kick off because they want to kick off, or they kick off, or they threaten to slash up so they can get a telly, or do you know what I mean? It's crazy stuff that goes on, man. Like I say, I can understand both sides of the coin, because on my last stretch, I was a cleaner and I saw all these statistics and all this sort of thing play out in front of my eyes, which surprised me because the screws knew I did vlogs, yet they put me in prime position to see. I was open 14.5 hours a day and I saw everything. Anyway, guys, I'm rambling on anyway, going on and on and on. I'll put a link in the description below, guys, as all I always do. Like, comment, subscribe. Cody out.